The call came at 2:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. My bank's fraud department, account frozen due to a red flag involving potential tax discrepancies. I'm Cal Mercer, 47, a forensic accountant semi-retired from Deloitte. The irony wasn't lost on me. Someone filed an anonymous tip, the representative explained, her voice professionally detached. We're required to freeze assets until it's cleared up. I thanked her calmly, hung up, and checked the date of the report. One day after I'd confronted Eric about the missing $18,000, 0 cents. My kitchen stood silent around me, brushed steel appliances, hardwood floors, manila folders stacked neatly on the dining table. The house in suburban Denver had felt emptier since the divorce 3 years ago, but today it felt like a crime scene. I didn't slam doors, didn't curse, didn't call Eric. Would you have? Instead, I opened my laptop and connected to the firm's secure terminal. The numbers don't lie. People do. Eric Benton, my brother-in-law. 36 with a salesman's smile and excuses ready for every occasion. He'd needed a second chance after his startup went belly up last year. Please, Cal, my sister had begged. He just needs stability, a fresh start. The family pressured me until I relented. I brought him into my boutique accounting firm, gave him limited access to our billing systems. My mistake. I pulled the access logs first, then client billing records, then payment confirmations. Everything appeared normal to untrained eyes. But I don't have untrained eyes. 3 discrepancies appeared within the first hour of searching. Small enough to miss if you weren't looking, large enough to matter when you added them up. The transfers didn't match Eric's submitted records. The timestamps were wrong. The documentation incomplete. He was sloppy. He always was. Night fell as I dug deeper. The blue glow of the monitor illuminated my face as patterns emerged. Client invoices slightly higher than contracted rates. Percentage differences. Routing anomalies. You know what betrayal sounds like? Silence. My fingers moved methodically across the keyboard, tracing money backward and forward through our system. I didn't need to write anything down. Didn't need to confirm what I already knew. The house creaked around me as Denver's temperature dropped. Out my window, neighbors returned home from work, lights flicking on in living rooms and kitchens. Normal lives. Normal problems. I didn't feel angry. Not really. Just a cold clarity spreading through my chest like ice water. Eric had used my reputation, my systems, and my trust. Now he was trying to frame me when I'd caught him. The amateur always thinks he's cleverer than he is. I sat back from the computer at 1:23 a.m. The patterns were unmistakable now. A trail of breadcrumbs Eric thought invisible. I closed the laptop without saving my findings. Didn't need to. The evidence wasn't going anywhere. Neither was I. Morning came with pale light through kitchen blinds. I ate toast in silence, watching steam rise from my coffee mug. Some people scream when their worlds collapse. I schedule meetings. At 9:30, I sat across from Melissa Byrne, the bank's regional manager. Her office smelled like artificial lavender and corporate policy. I'm sorry, Mr. Mercer, but our hands are tied on this. She tapped manicured nails against my account summary. You'll need to talk to the IRS directly. I smiled, thanked her, walked out. She hadn't noticed I'd recorded our entire conversation on my phone. Not illegal in Colorado, a one-party consent state. Just thorough. Back at my home office, I locked the door, pulled the blinds, set my phone to do not disturb. Time to go hunting. I started with our client billing records, all 217 active accounts, 6 months of data. Most forensic accountants hire teams for this kind of audit. I preferred working alone. 3 hours in, I found the first anomaly. Hartman Construction had been billed for specialized tax compliance services by a subcontractor I'd never approved, Pinnacle Consulting, LLC. Ever notice how criminals always pick names that sound important? Two more subcontractors appeared by midday: Summit Solutions Group and Alpine Financial Services, all three sharing similar billing patterns across our highest value clients. I searched state business registries, all legitimate on paper, all formed within the last 8 months, all missing substantive business histories. Shell companies, classic. The amounts were cleverly disguised: $1,200 0 cents here, $950 0 cents there. Small enough to stay under approval thresholds, large enough to add up to nearly $86,000, 0 cents when consolidated. It wasn't just greed. He tested the system. My phone buzzed at 3:15 p.m. Eric? I silenced it without answering. By evening, I had mapped the entire scheme. Money siphoned through fake subcontractors, then dispersed to untraceable accounts. The kind of fraud most businesses discover years too late. I needed someone else to see this, someone who understood the patterns. Dana Klein, 52, former IRS criminal investigator. We'd worked 3 major cases together during my Deloitte years. Sharp mind, absolute discretion. We reconnected once a year for coffee, our last meeting just 2 months ago. Cal? She answered on the second ring. It's been a while. I didn't waste time with pleasantries. I need your eyes on something off the books. 2 hours later, she sat at my dining room table, documents spread before her, her silver-streaked hair pulled back, reading glasses perched on her nose. These shell companies are actually well-constructed, she murmured. Not amateur work. Dana cross-referenced business filings, tax IDs, and registered agent information. By midnight, she'd found our first connection. Alpine Financial's registered agent is Marcus Westfield. She showed me the document. Maiden name Benton, Eric's wife's cousin. The circle was closing. There's more, she said, scrolling through her laptop. Someone's been using your credentials to file returns for a company that doesn't exist. My stomach tightened, not from surprise, from confirmation. Blue Ridge Ventures. 4 quarterly filings. Small business, supposedly. Just enough activity to stay below audit thresholds. She looked up. But all using your professional ID number. That's what the bank had flagged. Identity fraud. Made to look like I was the perpetrator. Had Eric really thought I wouldn't notice? The timestamp signatures are interesting, Dana continued. All filed after hours, all from the same IP address. I nodded, didn't explain, didn't need to. You know who did this, she said, not a question. I opened my laptop, found a specific line of metadata showing login credentials, timestamp, and file access. Turned the screen toward her. You'll want to see the access logs. Her eyes widened slightly as she scanned the information. Understanding dawned across her face. This is federal-level fraud, Cal. Identity theft, tax evasion. She leaned back. What do you want to do? I didn't answer right away. Just watched headlights from passing cars create moving shadows across my living room wall. Nothing. Tonight. After Dana left, I copied everything to an encrypted external drive, triple redundancy, the kind of backup you make when you know evidence might disappear. I placed the drive in my safe, closed my laptop, made no calls. Some revenge happens in screaming matches and broken furniture. The best kind happens in spreadsheets and federal filings. The water was rising around Eric. He just didn't know it yet. Monday morning, I called Mike Tanner at 8:15 a.m. sharp. Haven't heard from you in 3 years? His voice carried the slight static of a hands-free system. Still pulling numbers out of thin air for the big boys? Mike had been the best cyber forensics consultant at Deloitte before starting his own firm, the kind of specialist who could extract truth from digital ghosts. I need validation on server access patterns, timestamp authentication, full chain of custody. I kept my voice neutral, off the books until it's not. He didn't ask questions. That's why I called him. 2 days later, we sat in my home office reviewing his findings. The digital fingerprints were unmistakable. Your system logs don't lie, Cal. These access patterns show deliberate manipulation. Mike highlighted sequences on his screen. Multiple logins using your credentials after hours from locations you weren't at. I nodded, watched as he compiled his official report. You planning to burn someone? He asked quietly. I just handed him his check. Some questions don't deserve answers. Meanwhile, Dana had been building our federal case. Not against Eric directly, against the fraudulent activity itself. A subtle but critical distinction. The report needs to focus on the tax identity fraud, she explained as we worked in my dining room. The shell companies, the false filings. Let the evidence lead them to Eric naturally. My phone buzzed, third time today. Eric again. Would you ignore it too? This time I answered. Had to seem normal. Hey man. Eric's voice sounded strained. Bank asked about our EIN filings yesterday. You get the same call? The cracks were starting to show. First sign of pressure, he reaches out for reassurance. You might want to talk to a lawyer, I replied, then hung up. Dana raised an eyebrow as I set the phone down. He's getting nervous, I explained. He should be. She turned her laptop toward me. Look what I found. The screen showed Colorado unemployment benefit records. Eric had been drawing weekly payments, $618.00 each. During the same months he was billing as a full-time contractor through our firm. Double dipping, state-level welfare fraud on top of everything else. How did you get these records? I asked. Dana smiled thinly. I still have friends at the department. It gets worse. That afternoon, Dana discovered something that turned my stomach. Not from surprise, from the sheer audacity. Summit Solutions Group applied for a PPP loan last year. She pushed a document across the table, using your name as the applying business owner. $142,500.00 in federal relief funds, approved and dispersed. Loan fraud. Federal charges carry up to 30 years. Did he think I wouldn't notice? Or did he simply not care? The final report took shape over the next 3 days. 78 pages of meticulous documentation, bank records, server logs, authentication timestamps, falsified filings, shell company structures, unemployment fraud evidence, PPP loan documentation. A perfect circle of evidence, all leading back to one person. My lawyer, Kathleen Morrison, reviewed everything on Thursday morning. Her office overlooked downtown Denver, the mountains visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. This is remarkably thorough, Cal. She closed the folder. What exactly do you want to happen here? An interesting question. I want the system to work exactly as designed. I maintained eye contact. Nothing more, nothing less. She nodded once, understanding the instruction beneath my words. By 3 p.m., Kathleen had formally submitted our report to the Federal Tax Crimes Division of the IRS, with copies sent to the Department of Justice, FBI Financial Crimes Unit, and the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. The quiet sound of dominoes being lined up. Did I feel satisfaction? Not exactly. Just the calm certainty of mathematics. Every equation balances eventually. My phone rang again that evening. Eric's number. I let it go to voicemail. Cal, we need to talk, man. The bank's asking questions I can't answer. Call me back. I deleted the message. Dana called at 9:17 p.m. It's moving quickly. FBI has flagged the report as high priority based on the PPP loan fraud angle. I thanked her, hung up, and poured a single glass of bourbon. Not to celebrate, to mark the moment. The first domino had fallen. By morning, the Colorado Unemployment Office had cross-checked their records against our report. By afternoon, the PPP loan had been officially flagged as fraudulent. Everything carefully documented. Everything properly signed and witnessed. everything following exact procedural requirements. No shortcuts, no mistakes, just the inexorable machinery of justice grinding forward. Eric called 11 times over the next 2 days. I answered none of them. Some revenges loud, screaming and threats and dramatic confrontations. The effective kind is paperwork filed in triplicate. At exactly midnight on Sunday, I logged into our firm's admin console one last time, located Eric's system credentials, hovered over the delete button for precisely 3 seconds, then clicked. I didn't watch the confirmation screen, didn't need to see the system purge his access. Some actions don't need witnesses to be complete. I closed my laptop and went to bed. Slept better than I had in months. The storm was coming for Eric. I had simply stepped out of its way. Tuesday morning, 6:42 a.m., my coffee hadn't finished brewing when Dana called. "It's happening now," she said simply. I didn't ask how she knew. Some connections are better left unspoken. The FBI knocked on Eric's door at 7:15 a.m. Not mine. I wasn't there to see it, of course, but neighbors talk. Sarah Jenkins across the street from Eric's house called her sister, who called her friend, who worked with my former assistant. Word travels. 3 dark SUVs, 6 agents in windbreakers, standard procedure for white-collar crimes with multiple federal violations. They led Eric out in handcuffs, in full view of his wife, his 2 children, the neighbors watering their lawns, the school bus just arriving at the corner. They seized his computers, his phone, every electronic device in the house. Did I feel sorry for him? Not particularly. By noon, the arrest was public knowledge. A small segment ran during the local Denver business news broadcast. Local man charged in PPP fraud, tax identity theft. A 30-second story between the weather and sports. I watched it once, then deleted the recording. My phone remained silent all day. No panicked calls from family members. No outraged messages from mutual friends. Nothing. Just quiet. The next morning, Dana texted, "He thought you'd never notice, but you always notice." I didn't respond. Some acknowledgments don't need words. At 3:17 p.m. my sister called, Eric's wife, Jennifer. I almost didn't answer. "Would you have picked up? Did you know?" Her voice was hollow, not angry, just stunned. I left the office. I looked out my office window at the mountains in the distance, unchanging, unmoved by human dramas. "He knew the rules," I said finally. "He changed the numbers." She was quiet for 17 seconds. I counted each one. The FBI agent said it wasn't just us. Her voice caught slightly. Said there were others involved. A whole network. I said nothing. Let the silence do its work. "Did you turn him in, Cal?" Not accusatory, just seeking certainty in a suddenly uncertain world. "The evidence turned him in," I replied. "I just didn't hide it." She hung up without another word. That evening, Kathleen called with an update from her DOJ contact. My report had opened a much larger investigation than anticipated. They've identified 11 similar shell LLCs using the same operational patterns. Her voice had the cool precision of expensive legal training, all connected through various family members and associates, including Eric's cousin, Marcus Westfield. The cousins had been running versions of this scheme for years, apparently. Different businesses, different targets, same techniques. I was just the first one to notice. By Friday, the case had expanded to include potential charges against 7 individuals across 3 states. Tax fraud, wire fraud, identity theft, PPP loan fraud, unemployment benefit fraud. A symphony of white-collar crimes, all playing the same basic melody. The Denver Post ran a more detailed story over the weekend. 2 columns on page 7 of the business section. Fraud ring uncovered through accounting discrepancies. My name wasn't mentioned. Just a single line from the FBI press release. A whistleblower with advanced knowledge of financial systems triggered the investigation. Accurate enough, Sunday evening, I drove past Eric and Jennifer's house. Force of habit, the route took me to my favorite coffee shop. I didn't slow down, didn't stare. Just noticed the for sale sign already planted in their front yard. Jennifer stood on the porch, arms crossed, watching a realtor place brochures in the display box. She didn't see me drive past. Or maybe she did and chose not to acknowledge it. Does it really matter? At home, I poured a glass of water, sat at my kitchen table. My house felt emptier somehow, despite nothing being removed. Dana called one last time that night. The assistant U.S. attorney thinks they'll all take plea deals, she said. Too much evidence to fight it. I thanked her for the update. Didn't ask for details. Some victories don't need celebration, just completion. The system worked exactly as designed. Numbers don't lie, people do, and sometimes they pay for it. 6 months passed. Winter turned to spring. Eric took a plea deal. 7 years in federal prison. The others followed suit with various sentences. My house remained the same brushed steel appliances, same hardwood floors, same furniture, just fewer papers now. The morning light filtered through half-open blinds as I made coffee. The kitchen seemed quieter somehow, not emptier, just more settled. Have you ever noticed how silence changes after the storm is past? On my bookshelf sat a small wooden box, cherry wood with brass hinges, a gift from my father years ago. Inside lay a single DVD, the complete audit file, every spreadsheet, document, and access log that had built the case. I had kept one copy for myself while the originals traveled through federal courts. I removed it, holding the disc by its edges. Light caught the metallic surface, refracting rainbows across my wall. Did I need it anymore? The fireplace hadn't been used since winter. I knelt down, placed the disc on the cold grate, lit a match, watched as the flame caught the plastic edge. No ceremony, no dramatic pause, just the quiet disposal of something no longer necessary. The disc curled, blackened, then melted away. Nothing but ash remained. By noon, I was driving west toward the mountains. The road to Estes Park curved through canyons and pine forests. Spring wildflowers dotted the meadows between rocky outcroppings. I used to bring Eric's kids here, Jake and Emma, 9 and 7 now. We'd hike the Eagle Cliff Trail on summer weekends. They'd race ahead, collecting pine cones and interesting rocks. Eric would complain about the altitude. Jennifer would pack elaborate lunches. Today I walked alone. The trail hadn't changed. Same switchbacks, same views of distant peaks, same wildflowers pushing through rocky soil. Just my footsteps were different, singular, rhythmic. At the summit, I stopped, looked out over the valley below. The wind carried the scent of pine and earth. Birds called to each other across the distance. I reached into my pocket and removed a small black device, a handheld GPS unit. Eric had given it to me 3 Christmases ago. For better navigation, he'd said with a laugh, so you always know where you're going. The irony wasn't lost on me now. I turned it over in my hand, felt its weight, considered the paths it had guided me through. Then I placed it gently on a flat rock near the edge of the overlook, set a smaller stone on top to keep it from blowing away, left it there without looking back. The descent was easier than the climb, it usually is. As I reached the trailhead, afternoon clouds gathered over the mountains. The first drops of spring rain fell softly on my shoulders. I didn't hurry to my car, just walked at my own pace, feeling the cool drops against my skin. Sometimes, the best way forward is to leave behind what always pointed you wrong.